The cops were standing at the edge of my backyard, blue and red lights washing over my grill and folding chairs, while my burgers sizzled unattended and Karen stood behind them with her arms crossed like she'd just won a war. My kids froze mid-laugh, my friends went silent, and for a split second I honestly wondered if I was about to be arrested for flipping hamburgers. The smell of smoke mixed with that sharp, electric tension that only police lights can bring. And the worst part was Karen's smile, tight, smug, like she'd been waiting for this moment. Before I tell you how a simple weekend BBQ turned into flashing lights and police reports, tell me this: have you ever had an HOA or neighbor go so far that you couldn't believe it was real? Before all of this, my life in that neighborhood was simple, quiet, the kind of place where weekends meant mowing the lawn in the morning and relaxing in the backyard by afternoon. I moved there because I wanted stability for my family, a safe place where my kids could ride their bikes without me hovering every second, where neighbors waved instead of stared. The houses were clean, the trees were mature, and on paper, the HOA promised order without intrusion. At least that's what I believed at first. Most evenings I'd come home from work tired but content. I'd grill dinner, sit outside, listen to the cicadas hum as the sun went down. My wife loved the neighborhood walks, my kids loved the open sidewalks, and for a while it felt like we'd found our place. I wasn't loud, I wasn't messy, and I followed the rules. I didn't think about the HOA much at all until Karen made sure I couldn't ignore it anymore. Karen lived 3 houses down. You noticed her immediately. Perfect hair that never moved, oversized sunglasses even when it was cloudy, clipboard tucked under her arm like it was an extension of her body. She had that walk, stiff, purposeful, like she was always on her way to correct someone. She was vice president of the HOA and she made sure everyone knew it. She didn't say hello, she evaluated you. And when she looked at my house for the first time, I could tell she was filing me away as a future problem. Our first interaction was small, almost harmless. She stopped me while I was pulling weeds from my flower bed and told me my trash cans were visible from the street for at least 6 minutes longer than allowed. She smiled while she said it, but it wasn't friendly. It was satisfied. I laughed it off, apologized, and figured that would be the end of it. I was wrong. The notes started appearing a week later. HOA violations taped neatly to my door. One about my grass being half an inch too long. Another about a chalk drawing my daughter made on the sidewalk. Each one carried a fine, small but persistent, like a mosquito bite you can't stop scratching. I emailed the HOA asking for clarification. Karen replied within minutes, paragraphs of rules, bolded phrases, and a not-so-subtle reminder that compliance ensures harmony. What really got under her skin was my BBQs. I didn't throw wild parties, just a few friends, some music low enough that you could talk over it, kids running around with juice boxes. But every time I fired up the grill, I could feel her watching. Curtains would shift. Her front door would open just long enough for her to glance down the street. Once, she stood in her driveway pretending to check her phone while staring straight at my backyard. The first real confrontation happened on a Saturday afternoon. She marched up to my fence and snapped that I was violating noise ordinances and HOA guidelines. I told her calmly that it was 3 in the afternoon. The music was barely audible and the kids were just playing. She leaned in and hissed, "You'll regret not taking me seriously." That sentence stuck with me. It wasn't a warning. It was a promise. After that, things escalated fast. Anonymous complaints appeared in the HOA portal accusing me of illegal gatherings. Someone claimed my grill smoke was a health hazard. My trash cans were photographed from different angles like evidence in a trial. I started feeling paranoid in my own home, checking blinds, lowering my voice, wondering who was watching. My kids asked why they couldn't invite friends over anymore. I didn't know how to explain that an adult neighbor was making our life smaller. Then came the letters, formal ones, threatening fines, suspension of community privileges, even legal action, all signed digitally, but I knew exactly who was behind them. The worst part wasn't the money, it was the feeling of being hunted. Like every normal thing I did could be twisted into a violation if Karen wanted it to be. One night, after everyone went to bed, I sat at my kitchen table staring at those letters and felt something shift. Fear turned into anger, not explosive anger, something colder. I realized Karen wasn't following the rules. She was using them, and people like that always slip eventually. So I started paying attention, really paying attention. I noticed her garage door opening late at night, her friends parking overnight even though guest parking was restricted. I saw her leave trash cans out overnight, something she'd find others for. I documented everything, dates, photos, screenshots. I wasn't planning revenge, not yet. I just wanted protection. The turning point came when I found out she'd never reported her own backyard renovation. A pergola, a built-in fire pit, and outdoor speakers, all additions that required HOA approval. Approval she never had. I confirmed it quietly with a board member who was tired of her behavior but afraid to challenge her. Suddenly, the balance shifted. Still, I didn't act. I waited. And then came the BBQ. It was a holiday weekend, the kind of perfect afternoon you want to bottle up and save. Blue sky, warm breeze, laughter floating through the yard. I invited family and a few close friends. Nothing excessive. I followed every rule. noise levels, parking. Even sent a courtesy email to the HOA board just to be safe. I could feel Karen's eyes on me anyway. About an hour in, my phone buzzed. Unknown number, then another. Then the music cut, not because it was loud, but because my gut told me something was wrong. Moments later, sirens wailed down the street. When the cops arrived, Karen practically ran to meet them. She was animated, dramatic, pointing at my house like it was a crime scene. I watched from my backyard, heart pounding, kids clinging to my legs. The officers approached calmly, professional, but serious enough that my mouth went dry. Karen shouted that I was hosting an illegal gathering, disturbing the peace, violating HOA regulations, and posing a fire hazard. She even claimed I'd threatened her. I couldn't believe the words coming out of her mouth. They sounded rehearsed. I stepped forward and told the officers the truth, calmly, respectfully. I showed them the permits, the HOA email, the decibel readings on my phone. One officer nodded, clearly unimpressed by Karen's theatrics. The other asked her a few questions she couldn't answer cleanly. Then I did something that surprised even me. I asked if they wanted to see something else. I pulled up photos, dates, evidence of Karen's own violations, her unapproved renovations, her overnight guests, her noise complaints against herself. Technically, the officers exchanged a look. Karen's face changed. That confident mask cracked. She stammered, tried to interrupt, raised her voice. One officer gently told her to step back. I could see the moment she realized she'd gone too far. The police told her there was no violation on my part. No disturbance, no cause. But they did inform her that false reports were serious, and that HOA issues weren't police matters. The lights shut off. The tension drained from the yard like air from a balloon. But it didn't end there. The next HOA meeting was packed. Word had spread. I brought everything, documents, photos, timelines. Karen sat stiffly at the front, silent for once. When I spoke, I didn't yell. I didn't insult her. I just told the truth. Clear, unavoidable. By the end of the meeting, the board voted. Karen was removed from her position pending investigation. Her fines were voided. New policies were introduced to prevent harassment. She didn't look at me when she walked out. Life after that slowly returned to normal. My kids laughed louder. I grilled without checking the blinds. Neighbors waved again. Some even apologized for not speaking up sooner. Karen still lives there, but she keeps her distance. No clipboard, no notes, just quiet. Sometimes, when I flip burgers on a calm evening, I think about how power changes people. How some use rules to build communities, and others use them to control. Karen tried to ruin a moment of joy, and instead, she exposed herself. Funny how calling the cops over a BBQ ended up cooking her own authority instead.